6:01, Monday, June 3rd, 2024. Call to order this regularly scheduled meeting of the Lancaster Select Board. Some reminders and then a roll call. Reminder, this meeting is being recorded as well as broadcast on Sterling-Lancaster Community Television. I'll do a roll call. Mr. Gifford.
Here.
Mr. Allison.
Here.
Mr. Kerrigan here. All present and accounted for. Fantastic. Okay, so we are joined by our DPW commissioners, which we'll be right with. We just want to dispose of a few housekeeping items at the beginning. First item on the agenda is approval of the minutes from April 29th and May 20th.
So moved.
Is there a second? Okay, any discussion?
Thanks to, I presume, Kathy. Great
Yes,
job.
That's a blanket for Kathy across all the jobs because she doesn't know how to do it any other way, but yes. All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
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 Aye. The minutes for both the 29th and the 20th are approved. Public comment. So, hold on. As folks are aware, we have public comment at select board meetings. The Supreme Judicial Court said that I can't tell you how to treat people and to be kind in your comments, but it did say that we can determine how long and when and whether you can speak. So we ask folks, we start in the room. If you're interested, go to the podium, give your name and address when recognized. You have 2 minutes to speak. I will raise my hand when you're about 1 minute. I'm not trying to get your attention. I just want you to know you have about 1 minute. And then folks online, if you're interested, as Ann Ogilvy is clearly, raise your digital hand and then we'll recognize you in the order that you are there. Anyone in the room interested? As I said, if you're interested, make your way to the podium.
Hi, Dan Lakeman,
Yep.
95 Patrick Street, and I'm speaking on behalf of the Memorial School Reuse Committee. We'll be talking about it later, and I have some updated Cliff's Notes for you all to describe what is happening with our committee.
Thank you.
And it's a little bit complicated, but I'll just breeze through because I got 2 minutes. First thing
30 now.
First thing to know is that Affordable Housing Trust is third down, and they have indicated that they do not want to see it anymore. And I think there's a Scrivener error because Recreation Committee is off the list.
Okay.
So I have written the Recreation Committee in at the bottom. And Sherry Cutler, who was an at-large member, is now going to be representing the Memorial School Committee.
You mean the Recreation Committee?
Recreation Committee, yes, Recreation Committee. Mary Zadroga has sent a letter in describing how she would like to be appointed to the board in that at-large position. So that's Zadroga. Using your nomenclature, I've put stars by all the names that have requested to be reappointed. They may not have come through yet, and I did get a verbal from Van Cromack yesterday, so it may be a while, but he has indicated interest. And finally at the bottom, Linda Cutler, Council on Aging representative, has resigned. So that is an open seat for the Council on Aging.
Thank you.
Okay, any quick questions or save for later?
We don't do questions at this point, but we'll have questions for you later for sure.
Yeah, okay.
Thanks. Anybody else in the room?
Hello, Linnea Lake and Survey, 1394 Main Street. I wanted to speak to how excited I was to see that 4 additional members or applicants want to join the Community Preservation Committee. That's really exciting. It must be the good work that the CPA has brought to Lancaster. But there is one problem. Monica Tarbell, who is one of the people who is applied to be the at-large member, is also a member of the Recreation Committee. And there is an open seat for rec. And the way it works, the 2 at-large members kind of balance out. That's the way we wrote the bylaw. 1 member from Historic, Housing, Concom, Rec, and Planning Board, and 2 at-large. So I think that might need to be, we might all need to get on the same page, because we can't change the bylaws without going to town meeting, and so there might be a problem there. And I would like to speak to, I'd love to be reappointed for another 3 years. I feel like our work just got started, and I'd love to use the acquired knowledge that I have to continue on and then be done at 6 years. That's more than enough for anybody on any committee. So that's all I had to say. Thank you.
And anybody else in the room? Ann Ogilvy. Unmute yourself and lower your hand.
Thanks, Steve. Hi, Ann Ogilvy, 4 Turner Lane. And in public comment tonight, I wanted to address a trend in town that I found very troubling. I only recently learned about it, and I wonder if there are others who might not be aware of this as well. And I want to ask our leaders to collaborate to address this problem. I also wish to raise this issue to the attention of my fellow Lancaster residents so that they're aware of it. I attended the Board of Health meeting last Thursday morning to learn about a topic early in the agenda, but then stayed to hear the remainder of the meeting. In this meeting, they discussed at least 3 situations where the Board of Health was deciding to refer people living in temporary trailers on private properties to Town Council to start to evict them. It was very sad to hear the details of the situations and to watch as these people were referred for eviction, even though the tenants expressed that an eviction would leave them without housing and perhaps living in their car, and even though they only needed housing for 2 more months when they would have access to more permanent housing. We all know about the pressing housing crisis, but this really brought a lot of that home to realize that there were several cases of this happening here in our town. A housing advocate representing a pair of the tenants that were at the meeting made the point that trailers are used as emergency housing in all 50 states. And we know they are used here in Lancaster for emergency housing in cases where there is a fire or a flood, and to house temporary farm workers. Tonight I ask the Select Board, who oversee town operations relevant to these cases, to collaborate with the Board of Health, Health and Human Services, and other town resources such as the Affordable Housing Trust and other community members. I'm sure there are others. I'm certainly happy to step forward to assist in attempting to find better solution than has been offered, and I'm sure there are others who would do this too, to find a more humane and compassionate solution than what is currently underway.
Thank you. Is there anybody else online? Anybody else in the room? Hearing none. We'll close public comment. Thank you. All right, we're going to move on to our scheduled appearance by our fantastic Board of Public Works. So first, do they have to call a meeting to order?
Yes.
Who's your chair? Are you the chair?
I am.
Okay. So at this point, you have to call your own meeting to order.
Okay, let's call the Department of Public Works meeting in order.
Second.
All in favor?
Aye.
There we are. Mission accomplished. Good job. Well, we got one thing done today.
Yep. We adjourn?
No, not yet.
Take a break?
No, not yet. Do you want, since you didn't do roll call, do you want to introduce yourself to anybody who's watching online? And your team?
We shall do this. My name is Douglas DeCesare. I am the chairperson.
My name's Richard Craffey. Walter Sandrowski, member. Scott McDonald, superintendent.
Amanda Shaw, administrative assistant.
Thank you. Fantastic. Well, thank you for meeting with us. I know there are particular items on our agenda to go through. The 2022 borrowing authorization for $4 million for some of the water lines, I believe, and it's pending expiration. Grant monies and current balances, as well as the 2019 grant and 2021 grant extension details, and then future plan. Kate, do you want to tee up any of these items? Awesome. Fantastic. So where are we on the,
I think what Scott and I are, you can jump in whenever you're ready, but we're looking for some direction from both of the boards as to how it is that the boards not only would like us to overlap, but what is the expectation of the overlap. Obviously, I've been here 2 years, so I can't claim the new status, but because Scott is newer in this role, not new to the department, we collaborate on a lot of things willingly when we find things that are problems not of our making. We just need to know where the line is, and that isn't to say that it would be clear every time, but there are sometimes, like a grant extension, for example, was applied for that neither myself nor the finance department or Scott knew about, and so we're going to have to give that money back. And that is not an insignificant amount of money. So there are things that we could develop policy-wise that we're doing town-wide, grants administration, et cetera. Because the DPW is a separately elected board, it's an entity in and of itself. And so absent something that tells us where one ends and the other begins, or where the boards would feel comfortable with an overlap, we are just stuck not wanting to do the wrong thing or to be overstepping or anything like that.
I think that's the key there is the position we're all in due to how we're all set up, both with,
Could I jump in and make, we had
I guess, sure. Since you
and
just
just to
did.
get to the point at the bottom of this memo of understanding, if we may, I'm speaking out of turn, but I would like Kate to come up with the memo because she has more knowledge about the rules and regulations. And then we can look at it together and decide yes, no, or maybe, and we'll have is that acceptable? I mean, is that?
Yeah, so that's sort of where I was going. I don't think, I want to make sure that townspeople are paying attention to this. Like, this is a meeting of folks who are like-minded and want to resolve things, and systems that were set up long before any of us were elected to anything, that have put us in a position where sometimes it's hard for you all and the people who work with you all to get the job done that we ask you to do. And so, for me, it would be fantastic, and I think I don't want to speak for the board because we haven't opined as a board on this, but in order to give the town the ability to be as helpful to you, Scott, and your team, it would be great to have, because currently Kate is hamstrung in what she's able to legally do to aid and assist the DPW. So I think an arrangement like that, Walter, as you laid out, a memorandum of agreement or understanding where we can agree on terms that allow Kate to aid Scott without stepping on toes, so that we don't end up in a world where you all are saying, don't do that. We're saying, why is Kate doing so much? I think it'll be fantastic if we can get to that. And then you've been nodding since I started, so I think you're very excited. You're very excited.
I agree 100%. But going back to this $500,000 grant, no money was ever given to the town through this grant. There was a couple of town meetings where $100,000 in each meeting was appropriated, and that was spent on engineering and such.
And we're going to get to the list of things, if you don't mind, just a second. I just want to see if my board has any comments relative to this idea of potentially putting together an MOA, and then, of course, yield to you all.
So, I think what I'm hearing is that this would help the two of you build bridges and collaborating and getting work done, and you're both thumbs up.
I mean, we're doing it now.
Right.
It would just be helpul to know
Codifying it,
that
so, yeah.
neither of us are going to be chastised.
For doing what you're already
And the
doing.
proposal is for the two of you to work together to create the language, and then it gets presented to both boards, and we approve the MOU between the groups. Is that the tactics?
Yeah, I mean, I guess for my benefit, the last time we talked, it was, in my mind, was confined to sort of an HR situation, which is fine. That's a little easier to write. I guess my questions are, and they don't need to be answered tonight, but, budget-wise, Scott and I are going.
You can take that
My
offline.
suggestion is you all figure out.
What do you want the MOU to say?
Whatever makes the two.
Yeah, sorry, go ahead.
Whatever makes the two of you the best team possible.
Yeah.
Whatever the two of you.
What I would say too is whatever Kate wants the MOU to say, because she's the one that has to deal with this whole thing.
So, and I'll yield to Ralph in a second. But yeah, I think that the concept is you all come up with the draft of even the list of, here are the things that it would be great if Kate could weigh in on or help on, or finance could help, that just don't exist in our bylaws now. And then we can look at how we can, Kate can develop that and all the right wording, and then we can bring it back to both boards. That, to me, I don't want to hamstring you on anything, so anything that can help you be more successful. Ralph, and then we can yield to the DPW.
Primarily for the benefit of any townspeople watching, they might be asking, why an MOU? What's that all about? We have two independent boards, independently elected, different responsibilities, and this is about how do we work together? How do we work together with the DPW to provide, among other things, HR services, and Kate, please correct me if I misspeak. So this is really about establishing the ground rules about how we work together when we have two separate independent boards with separate responsibilities. And there was a second point, and I've forgotten it, so that's I'll stop there.
It's a long meeting.
You could be on our board.
I yield to the DPW if you guys have any more comments you want to make.
Bottom line, yes, we have to work together. All of us in this group here, we have to work together. That's our main goal.
But I think what I'd love to do is we will vote to ask Kate to begin the process with Scott, and we would love it tonight if you all vote to do the same, because what we don't want to do is say we all want to work together and then we hit a roadblock and decide.
That's what happened a year ago. It kind of got lost in the weeds.
And so I want to really set us on a path for empowering them to come up with a pathway to success. It comes back to us, you all vote, yes, this is an MOA, and the board signs it, or the chair signs it, we vote on it, and we agree on it, and sign on it, and then they can really get rolling. Because it was a lot of HR stuff, but now we're realizing a lot of other stuff, and we want to make sure that you have the power and the tools, and that Kate does as well. Nothing's more frustrating, I think, for the town staff to want to be helpful, but they need to be empowered to be working with.
Is that acceptable to you, Kate?
Yes, sir. Just, we have to be just, it isn't everything under the sun, only because there's a lot, right? So.
Well, I'm not saying do his job, but he doesn't want you.
We'll put our heads together and come up with
Yeah.
something.
I guess the point is, we don't want to limit you in your scope.
Got it.
You develop what you both think is an effective and impactful scope.
Yeah, we can always bicker afterwards. I don't like this.
We're very good at that.
Before we approve it, obviously.
Marvelous.
So, before we get into the litany of items, just to button this piece up, I'll entertain a motion from the select board to empower Kate to do as described.
So moved.
Okay, Second, any further discussion on that? All those in favor?
Aye.
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 Okay,
I motion the same for the DPW board.
Second.
That Kate will. In favor?
Aye.
okay. Now, the list.
I did remember my second
Oh,
point.
it's too late, we already voted.
It was that, to consider, actually planning to meet quarterly. Just
We've
put it on the
discussed that
schedule.
a few times.
Yep, put it on the schedule, meet quarterly, and that will help ensure that we don't get too far apart.
I would like to add something else, as needed. If it's more than quarterly, absolutely.
Of course, you bet, you bet.
All right, so the list. Do we want to quickly run through them to see? So one of the big, and I know that 2019 is a big concern for me, or for everybody, but the 2022, the water line thing,
Yep.
could someone explain where we are on that?
Okay, the grant has been awarded. We're just waiting to see the funds hit the bank account. We were very lucky to find that. We came across that, going through some files, it's clean and clutter. And Amanda's 100% responsible for that. We got it in last minute, and it's been approved.
Great. Well done.
$163,000.
And that's the starting the engineering, is that what starts it? To then do the whole project?
And the phase 2 of that, now that we know that's phase 1, is already on, so we're gonna apply for.
Phase 2, oh,
Yeah, public.
fantastic.
Okay. This is my house? Yep, it's a diamond mansion.
Hey, Emily,
Diamond mansion.
Am I not muted?
you are not.
Diamond Mansion.
I love a diamond mansion.
Diamond mansion.
Who doesn't want a diamond mansion? All right. That we're not buying a diamond mansion with the money. To be very
There
clear.
goes that $4 million.
I'm so sorry.
All right. The 2019 grant, there seems to be some confusion over whether we.
We'll work that out.
Okay, all right, you're gonna work that out. So, I was very concerned about the water line $4 million grant. I'm thrilled to know that paperwork is found and we're on the right path, so. And I'm really excited to see as quickly as possible we can get that MOA done, or MOU, whatever MO we want to do, and then keep it rolling.
The borrowing authorization is
Borrowing
the only other
authorizations.
one that, if the board would like to borrow for the water lines, where you are likely gonna be having a fall town meeting. And so we should have a more recent vote that allows us to have the vote and then go right to bond council to figure out. what
And
we-
that's, just to explain, that's borrowing and then it gets paid back through.
Borrowing and then using the enterprise funds from water to pay the principal and
principal back,
interest.
got
So
it.
I would, I don't know where the 4 million came from, although I suspect probably from the engineering, but I
The
would.
number you mean.
Right, I would think that we would want to do a number smaller than that based on the amount of reserves that are in
I mean, I think that's
the water enterprise.
I think the fall town meeting is a good target to get that on, so it'll allow us to figure out.
We'll work on that, definitely. In reality, we could use a lot more.
No, I know, it isn't, but you want to bond what you can,
Yes.
it's like when your credit card
Which you can
company.
spend at a
You
reasonable
may want a
payback.
$20,000 limit, but they may say you're better off at 15 and you might have to take their word for it.
You guys okay if we look at a fall town meeting?
Oh, absolutely.
Absolutely.
Because if we, probably looking at a year now,
Yeah.
now to break ground on the water.
It would give us the winter to be able to bond it when nothing's happening, so that you have all the contracts ready when
When you can dig.
things are melted.
Got it.
And it would be legal.
They're talking spring.
Comes in handy.
That is always a plus, yes.
Two questions, if I can remember both long enough.
If you need a pen, I
First is really actually a clarification. Scott, you mentioned $165,000?
$163. That's
$163,000 grant.
That's a Clean Water Act.
Okay, so that's not a $4 million grant. The
No.
$4 million was a loan. I just wanted to make sure we got it.
Yes.
got it.
That's the borrowing.
That is a water line improvement.
Right. And then the question was, water line improvement where?
There's several roads involved, Neck Road, Harvard Road, Chase Hill Road, section of Parker Road.
And these were all, I remember.
Top priority
the
ones.
Yeah. They were
It's
the,
mostly all the spots in town where they're
Right.
getting the rusty
it was
water.
on the warrant a couple of years ago, and it was after an analysis of the top priorities.
Yeah.
And believe me, the list continues.
Correct.
Long.
It never ends. By the time you complete it, you have to
It's
start
like
over.
the Golden Gate Bridge, and then get back to the beginning and keep painting.
Right.
Thank you.
Hold on, one
The
question.
lines go back a couple hundred years, so.
Oh, it was the clarification, loan and grant, and then the second question was where?
Okay. Anything else for this portion of our meeting? Gentlemen, do you have anything else for us?
The only other thing was back on the first thing about the Water Street, Bartlett Pond, that grant money. We never received that from the state, correct?
No.
The 500,000?
I think there's some of it that was used, but not all of it. So that's what we're gonna work on. We have
Fantastic.
conflicting evidence and stories on that, so we have to do a little digging.
But
Yeah,
hence
right.
this fantastic new partnership, and they're going to dig and clarify and report back.
We're gonna be nice.
I think each one of us, when we see the other's email, we're like, oh no.
And let's just touch
You
on
hear
this.
my eyes roll?
And this is what we're trying to resolve on this, the bridge.
No.
We're not aware of it, or the project, our input. So this is what we're moving forward, all of us work together.
I have no idea what you're talking about.
Yes, that's what it was for, but my understanding is that there was some preliminary work done, and what was needed to be done was going to be far in excess of what was thought at the time that the grant was applied for.
Right. This was on the tail end of the Bartlett Pond, when they took the dam out.
Right.
This was on the last end of it, which we are talking
I
about.
think
Which
they
doesn't
just
mean
did
the
what they
problem
had to
goes
do.
away.
No, it
We just
doesn't.
need another way to solve it.
So this you will report back after you guys deconflict some, figure things out. Okay. Anything else?
Nope.
Then you guys, I think, can adjourn your meeting.
Motion to adjourn?
Okay. What's their motion?
Anybody can motion.
Yeah. All right, so you're adjourned?
Very
Okay.
good.
Thank you all very much for coming in.
Thank you, guys.
Thank you. And congratulations again.
Thank you. Thank you.
Welcome to the show that never ends.
Yep. And you can stay in for the executive.
Oh, we have an executive. Yes.
Yes.
Thank you.
Why don't you move back there?
Sorry.
That's all right.
All right. Next items, administration, budget, and policy. Commish. Scott. That's very good microphone. If you think you're whispering, you're not on that microphone. Okay. First item is review and provide feedback to the planning board regarding the Lancaster 2035 comprehensive plan. The sponsor of this item is Mr. Allison. Mr. Allison, take it away.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So I think everyone on the board has seen the draft 2035 plan. Hopefully everyone's had a chance to review it. I asked for this to be on the agenda because I have a lot of feedback, but I wanted to discuss with my board members first. I didn't want to go into a forum tomorrow and start speaking my mind and not have an opportunity to convene with the two of you.
Which is a reference, fine folks, to there is a forum tomorrow at what time again? 6 p.m. at the church, yes? At
Yes,
First Church.
So,
Come on, come on.
I'm happy to start break ice, but I'd be happy to, if somebody wants to give some feedback first.
It's your agenda item. You can, I yield to you or to Ralph if Ralph wants to. But
So, it's really hard for me to kind of go through this because I think two things are true at the same time. First thing that's true is we had a lot of residents provide excellent ideas and feedback to the forum. I also believe that the agency which is compiling all of this information has succinctly described all of the feedback that it's gotten. So I'm really working hard here to complement the process to date. And the but's coming, right?
I think we all sense that.
Here's my concern, which I think is also true. In my opinion, when we think about 2035, which is just 10 years away, and I've been on the select board 4 years, so 10 years doesn't seem like a lot of time. I didn't see really anything in there about what I believe is the most important thing for Lancaster for the next 10 years, which is to reduce the residential tax burden through the increase of commercial industrial development, right? So I think the ideas are fantastic, but I don't know how we're going to pay for them. Not only do I not know how we're going to pay for them, but how are we going to reduce the tax burden today without adding new costs? So I'm trying to balance, and I'm looking to my teammates here, I'm trying to balance great ideas of how we want Lancaster to look, but to be realistic and practical on what we can afford. So I want to put that out to my board members because I really have tried not to insert myself into the process. I wanted to wait till the draft, but my feedback is, I think we got one priority. I mean, yes, there's other things we want to do, but the number one priority is reducing the residential tax burden on our residents through I believe, through through commercial industrial development. So that's my feedback, because I don't want to like fear monger. I'm like scared, but I just don't think it's our reality that we're going to do all of these things in there in the next 10 years, because I just don't see the money. I mean, that is the tone from residents. You know, the truth is our tax rate has gone down, and even went down a tiny little bit this year, are very comparable, but evaluations are up, so overall tax bills are up. Lancaster's a fantastic place to move, but that only helps you when you sell your house. So generational families, people on low fixed income, how do we keep them in their homes, but also how do we have a great school district? So that's my feedback to my teammates, and want to open it up for comments, thoughts.
I appreciate the concern about the financial aspect of it. At one of the early meetings that I attended on the planning board to discuss this, the chair made a comment about the need for a financial plan to found the master plan upon, and deplored the fact that we didn't have one. At least that's how I remember the situation. And I think you're both right. We need a long-term financial plan, which is one of the goals that I certainly would like to see us sign up for. A multi-year financial plan that will begin to look ahead to sort out how are we going to achieve the income. The sort of questions that you're asking, I think, rightly so. So that would be one of the key things that I think is, at this point, it's late in the game to develop that for this particular plan. That's a multi-month effort to do, but I would love to see when we, at some point, we begin to develop a long-term financial plan so that we do know where the money is going to come from, or at least have a pretty good idea of what we're going to aim to have that money come from.
So, let me ask you a question. What does that mean? Because first of all, I think from a financial planning perspective, I've lived here a long time. The budgeting in the last couple of years has the most projection we've had in my lifetime. I served on the finance committee a long, long time ago, and on the select board a long time ago. I need you to say more, the next two sentences on what a multi-year financial plan means to you.
Sure. So the state has now a program. The state encourages, as part of the budgeting process, a 5-year projection. And they actually have a training program for teaching people how to create this. They have a program for doing that.
Right.
They've recommended that in their as part of their review and recommendations for us. So it's not something that I am making up. It's something the state has recommended. They have a plan. They have training.
I think if you talk to Cheryl and to Kate, you'd realize they're doing it. They understand what the 5-year markers are. They understand what the markers are in year 3 and in year 4. And I would venture a guess that Kate has either attended the training or taught the training at some point in her career. So I would encourage you to meet with Cheryl, to dig in with Kate on it, because that is something that they have put in play for them as they manage the finances for the town. So that's why I was wondering whether you were heading in the same direction of what's already happening.
Yeah, sorry, I kept turning my head here, but is the report I think you're referring to, so establish capital planning committee, create annual capital budget and revenue and expenditure forecast, and that's in progress. So, and that was, I think, so now it's done. So yeah, and it's all in the DLS document. I think that's the one you're referring to. So it sounds like we have that in place already. So when I think about the plan, I actually think we have a little bit of a plan in place, right? I mean, there's people in town I think who don't like the plan, but when I think about a solution to our fiscal impact to residents, we have really 3 areas, but Ralph, I think you brought some new ones when I'm listening to your campaigning. So the first 3, I think we all know about. So the first is North Lancaster. Second is, and Kate, I need a better term for this. I call it the craft properties. What's the craft, the properties? Huh?
Because they own the properties, is that what you call them?
Yeah.
I mean,
No.
No.
Which one
It's just
was-
up by, it's got Unified, right?
We already did Unified,
Yeah.
GFI.
Yeah.
Yeah, GFI.
Okay.
So there's North Lancaster, there's the GFI properties, and there's DCAM.
Yeah.
And all of those are at different levels in the mix, and they're moving, but they're moving slowly. So those are the 3, I think that's our plan, is to complete.
Important update, folks. DCAM passed the House, and it's going to pass the Senate, and will be our land very, very soon. So.
And 4, actually, I wrote your name down here, Ralph, but I think if I remember right, you had talked about expanding Kimball's and solving AUC. I think that was on your platform. I don't mean to put words in your mouth, but when I think about the plan, those are 3 that are open, and Ralph, you brought 2 more to the table. So I do think we have a plan, and we just have to close that loop. I mean, yes, it would be great to wave a wand and it'd be done tomorrow, and we've got $8 million new in our coffers. But that's not going to happen. But I think if we focus and really attention to detail in those areas that I think we will be in a much better spot. So I do believe we have a plan, it's just not happening tomorrow.
Do you want to comment, do you want to respond to that, sir? Before I give my general comments on the master plan draft.
I'm encouraged, I'm pleased that we already have the financial projections. I haven't seen them, and so I'm sure that will be something that's an easy to solve problem. So typically with a financial plan begins to drive lots of other things that have to happen. So as an example, with the memorandum that was reached between the LLC project and the town of Leominster to provide water, they had to commit in perpetuity to never having a hotel or a box store built on that land. And that sort of ties our hands in terms of what can happen. Now that came about because of the lack of a water resource. We had to, essentially they had to go to Leominster. So if we set out to say, our goal is to get this much revenue, commercial revenue, what are we going to need for utilities for doing that? How are we going to get those utilities? So that means a discussion with the Board of Public Works, just like we were having a few minutes ago. But it also means, what are we going to need for example, security, police protection? Are we going to need to hire more people? Do we need to have any other facilities, up there? So what are the kind of things that we need to do? So when we start to make these kind of financial plans, they then begin to drive input from many other departments so that people start to collaborate, say, okay, how are we going to get the utilities? What are we going to need to do for fire? What are we going to need? That sort of thing.
Which is why
We did that.
we've done it. I will say this, it was the one vote I lost when I was the last on the select board, was on what to do with that property up in North Lancaster that became soccer fields. There was one that we were gonna be able to tax on and went to soccer fields, but we had those discussions with water with Dean Mazzarella, who is still mayor, 30 years later. And the same criteria was in place then. And what I think you'll find, and that's what the planning board and others work on, is we can't, if we spend a lot of time and energy designing utility pathways for developments, we have no earthly idea what they are. It's wasted time and energy and money, but it's a process. That's why the easy rezone is important, because it allows us to focus energies there. Developments require different types of, the one thing you need is water. Power you can run, it's a matter of how long it takes to run it there. And then sewer and
We have all of those things?
Yeah, it's okay. So I hear you. I think the multi-year financial plan, for me, and the modeling behind it was what told us if we didn't do that override when we did, we would be in the tank 3 or 4 years later, far worse. And so it allows us to sort of project, because as we all know, a big chunk of our budget isn't in Kate's hand and isn't in Cheryl's hand, it's in the school's hands. And so our job is to do the best we can with the piece that we can control and work with our partners. And so the long-term financial plan is projections based on current tax rate, growth rate, evaluations, things like that. But I don't know that improving upon the work we've already done on some of the development ideas of saying, here's how much we'll need to pull wire, is going to be that impactful. I do think, and my first view of this plan, and I appreciate everybody who's worked on it so far, and all the residents who've contributed to it, and all the residents who will be there tomorrow night and keep the process going. To me, I keep hearing a line I heard a long time ago is, when talking about the economy, and I believe that the economy is not just the economy, but your own personal economy. So when I say economy, I mean it all. Your kitchen table one and also the larger one. But if the economy's not right, nothing's right. And so if we don't find a way, to Jason's point, to tackle the largest issue that we have in terms of people being able to stay in their homes and us being able to invest in our community, which is diversifying our tax rate, hopefully keeping, it's a myth to think we're going to massively cut our property tax rate, but keeping the growth contained and potentially decreasing it by increasing our commercial, industrial, and diversifying our tax base is the only way we can do any of the other things in this report. Any of the other things in this report about land use goals, housing goals, all of those other things have to be looked at through the prism of how do we do that? Because if we're spending a lot of time and energy on some of these other goals, and yet it's going to require a senior who's been in their home for 60 years to have to move because they can't afford their property taxes, then what kind of town are we planning for? And so to me, if the economy is not right, nothing is right, which means this master plan needs to focus on how can we, while keeping the character of our town. I don't want a Walmart, where the hitching post was, or anywhere in Lancaster, but like, we need to find ways, and I think we've been working, and I know the current planning board has been working very, very hard at approving projects. GFI is a great one. We're going to continue the great work we're doing, and I agree on the targeted areas. And I love that you talked about the college in your campaign, because I think that is it's one of the reasons why I ran for this board in the first place. Was I understood North Lancaster, DCAM, and AUC are the future of our town from an economic perspective. If we don't solve those three problems, we're not going to be able to solve anything else. We're on our way on two of them. I'd like them to move a lot quicker in North Lancaster, no doubt, and the legislature will move at the pace they move, but we will get that done, and we'll get it to a town meeting, and we'll get that land, and we'll move forward there. But I'd love to tackle the AUC property and get it back on the tax rolls. It could be a fantastic new neighborhood with mixed use there. So to me, I think this is fantastic, but I just want to caution folks as they're going through it, if we can't fix the economic piece of things here in town, we can't. I just think it's going to be difficult for us to do anything else. That's sort of my read of things.
Ralph, do you have anything you want to add? I'm ready to close up because we're not going to solve this.
No, we're not going to solve it tonight.
I thought we were.
So I guess, what I want to wrap up with, and I really do want to talk about this because it would be super impactful if we did, but I almost want us to have a motion to tell the planning board, great ideas, love the ideas, and we need some better words than what I'm about to say, but not fiscally practical. This is not the right plan for Lancaster now, right? So 2035, I don't think it's practical for all of those things, and that's what I would say tomorrow, right? I don't mind saying that in front of everybody else now that we've talked about it, but I want to make sure that, in our position, we're communicating to the planning board what we believe is right or wrong, and if the two of you think it's the best plan for Lancaster, so be it, but I think we should, in my opinion, send a message to the planning board that, money matters.
Well, I mean, I would suggest, I think our comments this evening is sending that message. I also don't want the public to believe there has been a process here that the planning board is definitely overseeing because it's a planning process, but I don't want people to think that they're sitting there writing out every draft of this report. They are working in this in concert with others, and so I don't want to say this is, thanks planning board, but different direction, because they're a part of this process as we are. So we appreciate the work that they're doing on that. So I don't know that, I'd love to see what tomorrow brings, but I hope planning board members, and I know one's in the room, and one's watching, two's watching, so the majority of the planning board's watching, either in the room or on Zoom. And I think they heard our comments loud and clear, but obviously if you'd like to make a motion, we can certainly.
Yeah.
Ralph,
do you want to?
I was just going to say that I would like to view this as a challenge. They have raised the bar high, and there may need to be more discussions, but I always love it when somebody raises the bar high. It gives us something to aim for. It really can help motivate, and as you both have pointed out, it really brings more focus to the need to get more broaden our tax base.
I just want folks to understand that if this ends up being a master plan, which is in essence, a guidebook for what we should be doing in the future, my focus will be primarily and almost entirely on the economic piece. And so I don't want folks coming back to us in 2034, if we're all still on this board, God help us, but and saying these are the 27 things you didn't do. But if we did it, if we didn't do those, but we have good development that is in reasoned parts of town that that keeps our property tax rates, residential property tax rates at a reasonable level and brings in resources so we can add things to the town, then I'll consider it a success.
Just typing out my words here. So I move for the select board to message the planning board that while the ideas presented in the draft 2035 master plan are fantastic, the select board does not feel they are fiscally responsible until Lancaster has reduced the residential tax burden on residents.
So I would argue that the burden is a good word. I would argue diversify our tax base, not reduce the residential tax burden. If you diversify our tax base, that has the impact of doing that, but if you're not prioritizing the diversifying the tax base, you could reduce the residential tax thing by slashing.
So we're currently, what, like 88% residential, so what you wanna see is you wanna bring that number down, but
Yeah.
it can't be proportional, but anyway, let me get the words. Ralph, do you have any feedback on that?
I'm not quite there yet. I agree in the importance of the financial component. I just want a little bit more time to have some discussions about how we might meet those goals.
Which ones?
Well, how we might do what is necessary to achieve the plan in a balanced way. What I'm struggling to say is, I feel like this is a criticism that is premature.
Oh, yeah, I definitely don't want it to seem as a criticism. I think the planning board members are doing good work and the team putting this together are great. I guess I would just say, I would perhaps amend your motion to say that we appreciate the process you're going through. The select board would like you to know that our focus is strongly on diversifying the tax base, and in hopes that by doing that, they also spelled Devon's wrong in here, whoever does that. But,
Yeah, so,
that by doing that, we're able to accomplish other things in the master plan.
yeah, we gotta get out of the world of criticisms, right? Because this
Yeah.
is not a criticism.
It's not at all.
It is our role to explain the fiscal stability of the town. And being honest and truthful is not a criticism, it's our job, right? So I'm not going to pretend that we can afford to do those things. And tomorrow is the forum, and I think it's important that the residents hear from the select board. So I can appreciate you wanting more time. I don't think we have the time, in my opinion, but I'll make the motion and we'll see how it plays. So I moved the select board. Let's type this out here. Select board message the planning board that while the ideas presented in the draft 2035 master plan are fantastic, the select board does not feel they are fiscally responsible until we are in a stronger position of diversifying our tax base.
I'll second it for the purpose of discussion, to make sure we can talk. Yeah, I mean, I wasn't prepared to vote on a message to the planning board tonight, but, I mean, well, my impression is they've gotten their message by the fact that we discussed it for the last 20 minutes. But I understand you'd like a motion and then one is on the floor. And I think I would probably be more amenable to the latter half of your motion, which just discusses that we would like a strong priority, a strong focus on diversifying our tax base.
So
Rather than talking about the other projects.
So how about I phrase it this way? I mean, not the motion, but my thoughts, right? So I want to say there's been decent participation in the forum, right? Not like election turnout, but there's been decent participation. We're going to get more turnout tomorrow. What I don't want to happen is Wednesday morning, 100 new residents say, how are we going to afford this? What are these people thinking? Right?
Well, let's be very clear. The plan,
So
master plan is a document.
So that's why I want to take a position. I think we should take a position that love the ideas. I cannot stress that enough. But I just don't think the current draft version of the plan is fiscally responsible for Lancaster. And I think this board should say that. But anyway, so we're in discussion. I don't need to belabor it, I don't need to keep talking. I think
No, that's
everybody gets
fine.
my point.
Questions, comments, concerns, thoughts, reflections, poems, odes?
I knocked on at least a couple hundred doors. And
Today?
I think you know what I'm talking about. And by far, the number one issue on people's minds were high property taxes. And what you're speaking to, Jason, is exactly that, and I appreciate that.
What if we take out the first part of the motion and we leave in the second part?
Read it with just the second part.
I move the select board message to the planning board that the select board does not feel the draft master plan is fiscally responsible until we are in a stronger position of diversifying our tax base.
What if it's something like, message to the planning board to say that the select board believes the number one priority should be focused on diversifying our tax base and helping to mitigate the burden on residential taxpayers. Doesn't foreclose anything else.
We absolutely
But it gives a
need to
very
be
clear
focused on
message.
that. Yeah.
So if we make that message, then it
Now,
doesn't
let
foreclose
me make
that.
a little suggestion here. If we could get language in there that says something, this isn't the language, Jason, but this is the sense of the language. The sense of the language is, great job, team, you've done a great amount of work. We look forward to supporting you in trying to diversify and achieve these goals while keeping, bringing in business revenue so that we can keep our taxes low. That's the sense of what I'm trying to say. We look forward to working with you. And I'm trying to strip off anything that could sound like, boy, you really screwed up and you didn't do that well.
Right, I don't think anyone
Disagreement is not criticism.
I understand.
Hi, this is Regina.
No,
So I have my hand up and I'm being impatient, but
Regina,
I love that you guys love what we did.
Regina, sorry, we're in the middle of a motion, so we're discussing a motion.
Okay.
Yeah, so we're gonna mute you. We gotta mute you until you get elected to the select board, then you can talk during the motion,
Okay.
and then we'll come back to you in a little bit. Okay, thank you. Sorry, we should, I know it's been a long discussion of the motion, but we're still in the middle of it.
I didn't see this one coming.
Yeah.
I don't know how to sheet reader, okay.
I was just thinking, can we,
No,
like,
yeah, it's
wait till tomorrow?
Yep, swear to God, though, we've gotta do it within the board, and,
Okay.
but, yeah, it's just because we're literally in the middle of a vote, basically, so. I know it seems to be interminable, the amount of time we spent on it, but it's an important one, so we wanna get it right. You were in the middle of something.
One of the things I learned a few decades ago is anytime you use the word but or while or something like that, it conveys something negative. And that's the essence of what I'm trying to get at, is I want to put an and. You know, it's an and we're going to help.
I mean, can't it just be simply that the select board celebrates the effort and reminds the planning board and others that the top priority of this board is to find ways to diversify the tax base and mitigate impact on residential tax.
The select board believes the number one priority of the Lancaster 2035 master plan should be diversifying our tax base.
That I'm fine with.
All right, so I will remove or rescind my previous motion. I move the select board message to planning board that the select board believes the number one priority of the Lancaster 2035 master plan should be diversifying our tax base.
Second.
Okay. Any discussion? Good. All in favor?
Aye.
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 Perfect. Great. That's good. See, that was good. Deliberation, discussion. We got to resolution. Hopefully Regina was okay with that resolution. Okay. That was good. Sends a good message, and we will learn more tomorrow. All right. We have a few items and then a lot of appointments before we have an executive session. So, Discussion on the next steps for a 5-member select board, sponsored by Select Board Member Gifford.
All right, I've been in some discussions with Kate about where we stand on having that. Let me back up a step, sorry. So at the town meeting, we voted to proceed, to begin the process of a 5-member, or potentially having a 5-member select board. Part of that process requires legislation. So after the town meeting, we have to submit a request for the legislation, and it's my understanding that that has been submitted, but there was a further question as to whether any further action was needed on our part.
I just wanted to vote for the record so that it couldn't be challenged.
I move pursuant to the vote at annual town meeting held on May 6, 2024 for Article 19, an act increasing the size of the Select Board of Lancaster, that the Select Board petition the Great and General Court of the Commonwealth
That's what the legislature's referred to.
to review and adopt as they see fit the article language as listed at the 2024 town meeting warrant, Article 19.
Second.
All those in favor?
All set.
Aye.
Aye.
Okay, huzzah.
Done. Thank you.
Okay, next item on the agenda, Hawthorne Lane updates and next steps. Kate.
So I sent a letter to the planning board on behalf of the select board. The planning board chair has received that. We had a conversation with town council about a number of things. And so they'll be calling that public hearing within the time frame, and we'll be getting a report thereafter. So there's not a lot there. I'm working on some of the other outstanding items, which, if and when we get to that point, would probably be the subject, at least one part of it, of an executive session upcoming for some approvals.
Fantastic. Any questions, comments for Kate? Yes?
So, do we believe this is something that can go into fall town meeting?
I wouldn't want to guess what the recommendation from the planning board was going to be, but if it were favorable, then I would believe we were on target for that, yes.
Awesome, thank you.
Sounds good. Next is cannabis update, Cannabis Control Commission, Municipal Equity and Industrial Participation update. My understanding is as a community that voted on cannabis in the affirmative, yes? There's some social equity requirements and there are pathways to meeting the social equity requirements. There are 3 options. One is, 2 are bylaw related, and 1 is to create a process for approving social equity programs. The idea is taken how we can use some of the cannabis resource that the Commonwealth gets to have social equity benefits in our community. I think there's work to do to decide as a community, as a board, which one of those 3 options we'd like to go on. I would ask this board to ask myself to work with Kate to come up with, and council to take through those 3 options and come up with a recommendation to this board for which of the 3 to pursue.
So moved.
Okay,
I was just gonna make you a liaison.
that's fine. As a chair, I think I'm liaison to lots of stuff, so.
Second.
All right, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Kate, let's talk cannabis. Okay. Next, review historical commission's charge, scope, and future planning. There's an asterisk. Let's do it.
So I think the goal of this is to,
Why?
I think the goal of this is to, I think
Aaron
we've got some
Typo.
historical commission members here. Just want to give the members an opportunity to ask questions about the charge, which is written by the state, I believe. Is that right?
And for the general public, Jason is our liaison to the historical commission.
So, like most things, our town code has just a simple line that says such and such will be established. In this case, it's that the commission will be established pursuant to Mass General Law, whatever. And so this one is Chapter 40, Section 8D. It's changed a couple of times, but nothing significant. It's a lot of words that are in there. Not all of them pertain because it talks to mayoral forms of government. So I printed you out the actual MGL, and then I broke it down just by bullet points for the ones that are part of the MGL that relate to Lancaster, meaning that they're, appointed by the select board, because that's their form of government, that they're preserving, protecting, and developing archaeological sites, they can conduct research, et cetera, et cetera. So I think a lot of this is known, might be good to, like we do with some other boards and committees, is sort of issue the charge when people want to get on the board, or if they're asking. Here's the things that, need to be priority, but, and then obviously, they would have their own priorities that they articulate.
We have a new chair of the
We do.
Historical Commission, Kendra Dickinson. So, we need to make sure that we have codified whatever policies, process needed in place with respect to managing all of the commission. Is it the commission property, or is it the property that the commission manages? What's the proper term there?
It's probably the town.
It's a mixed bag. Some of it is, some of it belongs to the library trustees, others to the town, so there's a mix. But yes, I think most of it is under their auspices.
And then the other convey is that the Historical Commission has an opportunity going forward to figure out what they want to do for the next year, and if they would like to do some future planning. So Kendra, I don't know if you had any questions or anything you'd like to bring up, or just want to make sure that you had everything that you need to be in a position to be successsul.
Well, I'm only 3 days old, so.
Well, you look fantastic.
Kate, if I could get a copy of that breakdown, because it's easier to just digest in the way that it seems to be.
Kendra's copy.
Oh, there you go.
Already got your name on it.
No, I mean, I really want the focus to be what it should have been. And, get us all reorganized again and get some policies in place. And I'm super excited to meet whomever the library brings on as an archivist and having a team effort
Yep.
between us and them in managing the collections.
And if we get to our next agenda item, you'll have 4 folks joining the Historical Commission, so.
So that's really I had. Does the board have any questions, folks on the
I do
select
not.
board? Cool. So then, upward and onward. Thank you.
Awesome.
Thank you, Kendra.
Thank you, Kendra. Thank you, members of the Historical Commission. Thank you, Jason. Thank you, thank you, thank you. Okay, we have a lot of appointments, and then we have executive sessions. So we are going to tackle some of these appointments, but not all of these appointments today. I'm going to ask the clerk, I'm going to read off which area I'd like us to consider. We have a number of folks who've submitted for appointment and reappointment in spots where there are the number of people seeking. Well, first of all, we discussed the need for people to apply the last several meetings, particularly the last meeting, and a lot of people answered the call, and we're really appreciative of that, so we're grateful. So, Affordable Housing Trust, there are 2 positions, 2-year terms. There is one person who has asked to be reappointed, and that is Frank Streeter for a term to expire 6/30/26.
So moved.
Second?
Okay, any debate, discussion on Frank? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Congratulations, Frank. There is still one open seat on the Affordable Housing Trust. No, there is not one open seat. Never mind, my notes
got
are
an
old.
email.
Oh, I did
Well,
get an email. That's
yeah.
right. Never mind. Somebody wants to be reappointed, and they're fantastic. So next meeting. Agricultural Commission, 2 open position terms to expire 6/30/27. Maria Morera and Stephen Mudgett.
So moved.
Second?
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay, we're going to, oh no, we got 2, Board of Appeals, we have 2 associate positions and 3 member positions available for terms to expire on 6/30/27. We have 3 member positions that are seeking reappointment are Eric Jacobowitz, Gene Rich, and Robert Alex. Alex, sorry.
So
It's spelled the
moved.
same way Alex spells her name.
So moved.
Second?
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Aye. And then we have 1 associate applicant, Michael Bray, for Board of Appeals.
So moved. To expire 60,
Same
6/30/26.
same term to expire, yeah. Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
Aye, okay. All right, Board of Assessors, we have 2 open positions, terms to expire 6/30/2027. 2 people asking for reappointment, Michael Burke Sr. and Kristen Fox.
So moved.
Is there a second? Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Board of Registrar of Voters, one term to expire 6/30/2027. Rebecca Corey, who is unenrolled, which is an important fact that we must declare when talking about registered voters. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Is there a-
Second.
Okay, we're in a good groove there. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Commission on Disabilities, we have 3 positions, terms to expire 6/30/27. We have 2 candidates currently, Leslie Allison and James Peters.
So moved.
Second.
All those in favor? Aye.
Abstain.
Oh, abstain, okay.
Yeah.
Aye, any noes, and 1 abstention, so 201, got it. We have a lot of people who applied for community preservation, so we're gonna skip over that for right now. We have, I'm just trying to take the ones where we have the number of people, so we can clear those up fast. 3 open positions, Council on Aging, 1 term to expire 6/30/26, and 2 terms to expire 6/30/27. Sylvia Buteau has applied for a term to expire 6/30/27, as has Angelina Santana. Is there a motion to approve of Sylvia Buteau and
So moved.
Angelina Santana? Is there a second?
I'm pausing just for a second. Yes, I'm going to second for purposes of discussion.
Okay. Discussion.
Yes. So all the positions we voted on thus far have been essentially reappointment.
Yes.
And so
Well,
now,
some, yeah, not all, but yes. I think.
oh, I might have missed, okay, I thought they were all
No, it's
reappointed. Okay.
No, you're right, yeah. Sorry.
Okay.
Yep.
Thank you.
Michael Bray just got on the Board of Appeals, that's why
Rebecca Corey is not.
we haven't gotten to that one yet.
You did it.
Did we?
Unenrolled.
Oh, unenrolled, yeah, the registrar of voters,
Oh,
right.
you're
Yep,
right,
yep.
you're right, you're right,
Yep.
right, you're right. I did.
Yep.
I,
It's just not a hotly contested race, evidently.
especially these days.
Right.
So
And we're about to appoint some more that are
Right,
not.
so clearly when we're appointing somebody for renewal, they know what it's about, they have experience and that sort of thing. When we're appointing somebody new, I would ideally like to learn a bit about qualifications, especially when there might be more than one person.
So you're reading into why I skipped over community preservation.
That was, yes, you're right.
So I was endeavoring to deal with the ones where we have
I just
interested
wanted to-
citizens
Yeah,
willing to
yeah,
serve.
Yeah. I just wanted to be consistent about qualifications, resume, that type of thing, in any
Are either
position.
Sylvia or Angelina here? No. So are you asking that we withdraw the motion to appoint them both?
I just,
We have a motion and a
we
second.
don't, yes, and second for purposes of discussion.
Right.
I do support these people, and I'm willing to go forward. I would in general love to see qualifications when that's available.
Are there appointment requests in the packet? The letters are, I just saw them because I came through to me.
Yeah.
Okay,
You'd
yes.
have to create some type of,
Process.
So Ralph, my only question is, let's say that you did talk to them. Are you prepared to say no to them if you hear them talk? So like, what's the value in that? Like, so if they're on the agenda, you can reach out to them, do all of that. I've never been a fan of bringing them to a meeting and giving to the podium when no one else is volunteering for the role. Like, unless you're prepared to say no to them, then why bother?
If I thought somebody was going to do a poor job and be injurious to the town, I absolutely would say no.
Okay. So we want to bring them all to the meetings and make sure that they're going to do a good job.
Okay, so we're in the middle of a motion.
Yes, we
Which means
are,
either
which
have
I
to call a
seconded
vote.
for purposes.
You know, seconding for purposes of discussion means it's still a second. right?
Yes, of course.
You can second it for whatever purpose you want. but
Of course,
It just indicates that you're like,
Yeah,
no on the motion.
Let me see, and actually, so this was Council on Aging and we're.
Still is.
Yep,
Sylvia Buteau and Angelina Santana, and we haven't even got to Sheila Millett, who's
right,
sitting
so
right
we
here.
have just the 2 names that were brought forward at the moment.
For the 2 terms to expire 6/30/27, yes. Sheila,
Yeah.
who is
Yeah.
right there, has applied for
Yeah.
the term to
I'm-
expire 6/30/26.
I am ready to vote.
Okay, all in favor, signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye,
Aye.
aye, okay. Is there a motion to appoint Sheila Millett to a term to expire 6/30/26?
So moved.
Second?
Okay, all in favor?
Aye.
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 Congratulations.
Thank you.
No backsies, outsies now. Okay. All right. Economic Development Committee, I am thrilled that we have 5 open positions and 5 people who have shown interest, which is fantastic. All of whom are either business owners or well-known, I think, to, well, I know them all. I've talked to several of them since they submitted their letters. And I'm excited that we have folks back on the EDC. So they are, and in no particular order, Michelle Courier, term to expire 6/30/25. These are staggered terms for the purpose of when we replace them on the committee. 2 for terms to expire 6/30/26, which would be David Carr and Jean Rich. And then 2 for terms to expire 6/30/2027, Jesse Tarble and Susan Reardon.
So move.
Is there a second? I will second it. Okay. The audience getting a sense of where this vote's going? No. If you've read our decoder book, you've figured out where this is headed. All right. Any discussion?
Yes.
Okay.
This could be a very important committee
It is.
in the years to come here.
Yeah.
Hasn't functioned for a while.
You're right.
And we have until the end of this month to make sure we get really strong people. And I'm not saying that anybody here is not strong. What I would like to suggest is that we hold this open for,
It's been open for years.
yes, but we now finally are showing some momentum.
Right,
And
because
people are
5
signing
people
up.
stood
And I will, 2 more weeks to encourage even more people to come out, and that we can actually, I would like to request that they submit a resume.
Yeah. Right. So I've been on the board for 2 years. We've talked about the EDC at least every other month for that entire time, encouraging people. This is the first time that we've had 5 people apply. I can't imagine we're
it's
gonna have
wonderful.
a lot. Right. Yeah.
And I would love it if there were 10. And I'm encouraging, that's what I'm asking.
And I would love a 3-0-0 vote on this. I don't suspect we're going to get it. Yes.
Yeah, I know each of these people
Yes,
personally
absolutely.
and have no hesitation about their ability to perform in this role.
Okay. So I think what you're hearing is we're going to move forward with a vote on this motion.
I am hearing that. Yes.
Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Any opposed?
For the purposes of having a 3-0-0 vote to strongly endorse, I am going to say aye.
Huzzah. Thank you, fantastic.
Even though I would have preferred something else.
Understood. Historical Commission, we have 4 positions, 2 to expire 6/30/27, 1 to expire 6/30/25, and 1 to expire 6/30/26. And they are John Murphy for reappointment to a term to expire 6/30/25, Kendra Dickinson, the new chair, for a term to expire 6/30/26, Elizabeth Cahill and Amanda Kelly for terms to expire 6/30/27.
So moved.
Is there a second?
Second.
Any discussion?
I cannot state how excited I am.
I think that encapsulated it. Okay, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Memorial School Reuse Committee, Dan, oh, there you are. For some reason, I was pointing at Scott, sorry. Dan, we got your information. You're the communication we had, so you're the one on the agenda for reappointment. So just, we hear what you're saying and we'll track it, we'll chase the rest of it down for a future meeting, just so you know. Is there a motion? Oh, and this is there are 3 open positions, term to expire 6/30/27. Dan has applied and is sitting right there if you have any questions.
So moved for Daniel
reappointment.
Lappin, term to expire 6/30/27, Memorial School Reuse Committee.
Is there a second? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Recreation Committee, we have 2 positions, 1 applicant for term to expire 6/30/27, Victoria Fazel. I apologize if I've pronounced that wrong. But for reappointment to the Recreation Committee. Is there a motion?
So a move to appoint Victoria Fassel, term to expire 6/30/27 to the Recreation Committee.
Okay.
Second.
Okay, all those in favor?
Aye.
Aye. Okay. Now, we skipped 2 boards. The Conservation Commission, where there are 2 open positions, terms to expire 6/30/27. Bruce McGregor for reappointment, and then for the other, then two others, Carl Fawcett and Dave Millett, who is here. And then community preservation for two residents for at-large terms. And I want to be very clear, anyone can apply for at-large, resident at-large, even if you serve on another commission or committee. So that would not prevent somebody from, even if there is a position that they can fill through their other committee slot, that doesn't prevent them from doing it.
That's not the way the law reads.
Okay, great, awesome, thanks. At any rate, so we have, my suggestion would be for those two categories, although we could certainly hear from Dave tonight, because he's right here, that if it's the board's desire, we can either vote on positions now, or we can, given particularly, I'm perfectly happy to move forward on Conservation Commission today, knowing the characters at play, but community preservation, I'm also willing to move it to the next meeting so that we can have an opportunity. See, I didn't yield on your other one, but I might yield on this one if that's something
Very
you
kind
wish.
of you.
Well,
I move that we defer community preservation to the next meeting.
okay,
So I'm okay. If we want to do that, I would encourage, so I know Bruce McGregor and Dave Millett personally. I would encourage Carl Fawcett, who I don't know personally, to reach out and submit some information that would be helpful to me.
so he was just doing community preservation right now.
Right.
So he-
Oh,
yeah.
I thought it was Conservation Commission.
No.
Oh, I'm so sorry. Yes, defer CPA, absolutely, yes, yes, yes.
All right, so we don't think we need to vote on it, we'll just consider that at the next meeting, and we will communicate to the applicants, or I guess anybody else who would like to apply, to come in and speak to us for a minute and ask any questions, answer any questions we might ask.
So you just want them present at the next meeting? You don't-
Present here or,
Okay.
yep. And then Conservation Commission, I'm perfectly happy to move forward making appointments to Conservation Commission, but I yield to the wishes of the board.
I move to defer that also to the next meeting.
Okay. Then I would echo what Jason said and encourage those who feel like they should to submit stuff. I don't know, Dave, if you can't make next meeting, you're certainly welcome to take time now, since you took time to be here now. So if you want to offer why you would like to serve on the Conservation Commission, we know you.
Well,
You don't have to, you can come
no,
back.
I'm happy to speak for myself. I've spent over 30 years as a nurse, and I also feel that the environment and the health of Lancaster, the Conservation Commission helps to protect that and helps the water environments. I also feel that, it's a scientifically based, legally based, and I feel that I have good ability to deliberate on subjects, so I thought it would be a very interesting thing to be part of. I've been reviewing meetings for the last 6 months to kind of get an idea. I know there's going to be a lot of learning for me, but I'm eager to be of service to the town since I'm no longer presently a volunteer.
Well, we appreciate your willingness to volunteer. You have been a fantastic asset to the town.
Carl may be online.
Oh. Is he? Carl, are you on? Do you want a few moments? We might be able to not kick this to the next time. Carl, are you on and would like to say a few words about why you'd like to be on the Conservation Commission? You'd have to.
Yes, I have a solid science background, many years, and also dealing with regulations, federal, state regulations through the energy efficiency work that I've done over the years. I decided, I talked to Tom, and I decided I could help the town. I think it's an important commission, and I think looking at how we keep the quality of life in this town and environmental, quality that we all love. So, I'm willing to which I've, be interested in being on the board, on that commission.
Okay, thank you. And Bruce is not.
So he would be a reappointment.
Yeah, he'd be a reappointment. So, what's the board's desire to, we can.
So Ralph, you asked to defer. Would you still like to defer, or would you like to deliberate?
Well, given that we've had the two speeches, I'm perfectly happy to deliberate.
Copy.
And I would suggest that perhaps we start by, if the board is inclined, to start with dealing with the reappointment separately
Yes.
from the.
So I'd entertain a motion to reappoint Bruce McGregor to a term to expire 6/30/27.
Second.
Dan seconded, all at the same exact time. That's efficiency at work. All in favor?
I just want to quickly say, I've known Bruce for probably 15 years, a lot of time through the Cub Scouts. I'm really grateful for all the work that he's put in on the Conservation Commission. I'm excited to be able to reappoint him tonight.
You haven't done it yet?
Aye.
Okay. All right, 3-0-0. Thank you. All right, now we have two great candidates for the remaining open position. Is there a motion? And then we can discuss, or do we wish to discuss the merits of both and then someone make a motion?
So I think I've made my feelings clear. So, I mean, I'm for Dave Lett. I've known Dave almost as long as I've known Bruce, so I know everything that he brings to the table. But it's going to be a vote, so I can make the motion, or we can.
Well, let's hear what Ralph has to say.
And I've met Dave, we've had a few conversations, and I've appreciated my conversations with David. I know Carl considerably better than I know, and I would favor Carl because of the fact that I know Carl so well. So there we have it. I think, I don't know how we
That's
go.
where we look at Steve.
Yeah, that's with my Solomon-like wisdom. Yeah, so I would say this is a difficult position. I know both of the gentlemen who have applied, and I do not want anybody who applies to volunteer for the town to be discouraged by anything. But in the end, one person will be appointed tonight and one person won't, and I don't want them to view it as any differently than there are an embarrassment of riches in this one instance for Conservation Commission. I will say before applications were in conversations with Dave about finding opportunities for him to serve and knowing his background, by the way, is if there's any angels on earth, they're nurses. So thank you for the work you do. I had encouraged him to submit his application, and so I feel like it would be disingenuous to do anything other than to support. I think they're both great candidates. I just was with Carl for a chunk of Saturday, and I have great respect for him and encourage him to find, there's lots of opportunities for us to find service, and his expertise in science certainly is something that we need to tap into here in the town, because we want people with subject matter expertise involved. I just feel like I would be a heel if I encouraged someone to do something and then also fantastic candidate. So that would be likely where my vote would fall. So no offense to anybody, particularly Carl. It's just, when you ask someone to step up and they step up, you gotta step up with them.
So I'll move to appoint Dave Millett, Conservation Commission, term to expire 6/30/27.
Okay, I will second that. Any discussion, further discussion? All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Nay.
Nay. Any opposed? Good, okay. Okay.
Thank you, Carl.
Thank you. Yeah, thank you, Carl. It was an embarrassment of riches, and I apologize for that. All right, so we did them all, except for CPA, which we will consider at our next meeting, and I will read off because there are a lot of them. Two at-large folks. Yes, Dan?
You forgot us.
No, I did you. I appointed you.
Well, there's all the other.
But I explained when we appointed you, Dan, that you were the only one that submitted by the time we did the agenda. So you were the only one on the agenda.
Okay.
Yeah, and we're gonna take
You'll
you,
come back up.
yes, we're gonna take it with the next one, yep.
That's what I was asking.
But thanks for keeping us honest, I love that. People who've applied for the two slots that expire 6/30/27, Margot Hammer Streeter, Linnea Lakin Servey, Michelle Vasquez, Michelle Courier, Monica Tarbell, Michael King. So we will reach out to them and encourage them to come to our next meeting, which is 2 weeks from today. Yes? Got it. Okay. Next, communications. Well, our next meeting will be 2 weeks from today, June 17th at 6 p.m. And then I will entertain a motion to go into executive session from which we will not reconvene in open session.
So I move for the Lancaster Select Board to meet in executive session pursuant to MGL Chapter 30A, 21A, with the Board of Public Works members for the following purpose. Purpose 3, to discuss strategy with respect to collective bargaining, specifically to deliberate regarding grievances 2, filed by AFSCME Council 93, Local 3720, Public Works, as the chair has declared that deliberations in open session would have a detrimental effect to the town's bargaining positions, and the Lancaster Select Board will meet in executive session pursuant to MGL Chapter 30A, 21A for the following purposes. Purpose 3, to discuss strategy with respect to litigation in a matter of Lancaster Historical Society pursuant to Section 21A3, as the chair has determined that the discussion in open session would have a detrimental effect on the town's litigation position, and Purpose 2, to conduct strategy session in preparation for negotiations with non-union personnel, specifically town bylaw managerial employees in grades A and B, and not to reconvene in open session thereafter.
Is there a second?
Second.
All those in favor, Mr. Allison? Mr. Gifford?
Aye.
Mr. Kerrigan, aye. We are in executive session.